Hi guys, welcome back to another Overthrow Disc Golf video. This is the next video in building the backhand, the series that we've been going through here recently on the channel. So we just talked about brace. Now we're going to talk about right before the brace. So we're building back from the brace. We're going to talk about coiling or backswing or reach back, how to do it, when to do it. Let's get started. So to give you context of where we're at in the throw, so if this is a full walk up here, we are going to be at this point in the throw right here. Now my trail leg, my left leg for me, I've got my pressure on the toe here. From here, going through the final stride, I'm going to step. Obviously, that's the stride portion, but during this portion, I have to coil, or I have to start getting the disc back, right? So we are at this moment, not before it. We're gonna have a walk-up video come out with a full walk-up in about 2 weeks, right? That's not a lot of time to learn how to coil. So can you just for 2 weeks practice this? Can you just practice it without a walk-up if this is a problem for you? So I'm gonna give you a progression and we're gonna talk about what you should feel, but make that commitment to yourself if you're gonna work on this. Just look like a crazy person for 2 weeks. So with that, obviously we're not coiling through the X step. This is going to ruin the coil and you're gonna feel why in a second. So let's feel what coil feels like first, okay? So you're gonna be on your back toe. You can be balanced here, right? And then go ahead and step forward. Now we're uncoiled. My shoulders and my hips are all facing the same direction. Coiling, kind of like a snake, right? Where they're coiled up and they're ready to strike. We're getting kind of springy here. We're wrapping ourselves so that we can explode all at one time. So to get to that coil, I got my feet set apart here. I've got a little bit of stagger here and I'm towards my toes. Now what you're gonna do is there are a couple cues that work for people, right? But at the end of the day, what we need is our hips and our shoulders both back. Some people think about turning the shoulders back and that gets their hip coiled as well. Some people think about getting their back hip turned or getting their back cheek towards the target, and that gets their shoulders coiled as well. No matter what you think about, you got to get both of them turned back. So find the cue that gets shoulders and hips turned back. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to start actually, and you don't even need to do this with the disc, right? We're going to take the arm out of the picture, right? So you can cross over here and I want you to start turning this butt cheek towards the target, okay? Still on this toe here. And now you should feel some tension here. Tension, not pain. You should feel some tension in the left hip. Reminder, the #1 rule when making form changes, if it hurts, seek adult supervision. So we've got this cheek turned to the target. Now go ahead and stretch your shoulders and rotate your shoulders to where your chest is back and your shoulders are forward. All right, so now the target can see, my target line can see my back. My hips only go about here. They can't really go further than that without moving this foot, all right? Very important that you watch this foot because I've seen people do this and they start trying to turn and they go, and that foot slips. That's like walking backwards in your X step. There's no tension there if they're back together. The tension comes because this foot is in the ground, the hips go back, and then the shoulders go back even further. Okay, so the shoulders are about 180 off. This is about 135 off. Or we can say 6 o'clock and 7:30 for you righties. Or 6 o'clock and 4:30 for you lefties, right? But there, you can feel that without the arm, okay? That tension there. One other thing I really need to mention when we practice this is that we want waist bend here, right? It's much harder to feel the tension if you're just upright like this and your butt's underneath, like your hips are thrust forward like this and your butt is underneath the rest of your body. We really want a waist bend here and you will feel that stretch much better from this tilted position or this tilted plane, we might call it. Bent over, we're on the toes, stay on the toes, don't go to this heel, and then twist kind of like that. That's the coil, that's the feel that we're going for. Now a couple things, when we go full speed, like here when I'm going through the motions, I can get this, you can see that my front foot can go really far back. That's okay for this, right? In reality, my foot's not gonna go this far back when I'm moving through the walk up. When I'm trying to coil like that, that's about as far as I'm getting it. And that's kind of Drew Gibson-esque, right? Also, when I stand, my feet are fairly straight, right? So if you stand like this, I would expect your toe to be further back than somebody's who walks like this, right? I wouldn't expect if you flare like this and coil, your foot to be back. I'd expect it to be perpendicular. We don't want the foot open at all or pointing forward at all. It's gonna be at least here, and then for some people, depending on how your body's put together, it might be a little further back than others. So that's coiling. Now we should talk about the arm. This is why you see some people who throw far with a bent arm. And that's why you see some people who throw far with a straight arm, because what we were doing before is coiling. The arm has nothing to do with that. We can coil like this, and now I'm Ricky or Calvin Heimberg or Emerson Keith, and my shoulders got just as far away from the target. They're facing you now, and my hips got turned off target. Or I can be an Ezra. Hello? Get off of there. Or I can be an Ezra or Paul or whoever that has a straight arm here. The shoulders got to the same place, the hips got to the same place. So as long as you've got space on your backswing to where you're not like this, which would be if you walked up and instead of coiling, you went and just moved the arm, now you pinched off this angle too much. If you coil and turn those shoulders, you're gonna have space in the backswing, and if you tilt, like we had mentioned before, you're gonna have room for this disc to come through here unhindered by the body. That's mostly a shoulder thing and a space thing up here, not from elbow down. Now that you felt it, how do we practice it? Since we've been working on our brace, we can start from this posted position, and we can work here if you want. If you want to learn to swing back, you'll see if I try to swing this thing back or move my shoulders and my hip back, even though this foot is not on the ground, I can get my hips turned back and I can get my shoulders turned back, right? So we can continue to work a little bit on our brace, from throwing from a planted position, and also getting good shoulder turn. After that, we can start here on the left toe. The ground's uneven there. It's like pushing me this way.
Yep.
After that, we can start here. You've probably seen this drill before, where we're on our back toe, and now we're going to focus on two things. So we're gonna step forward, it's a side step, and we're telling our mind this, and it's also this turn thing that happens. Okay, so I'm trying to do both of those things. So I'm just going to turn and step, or you could say, turn and fall. Right, if you're one of those vertical braces, it's gonna be a turn and a fall. If you're one of those forward bracers, it's gonna be a turn and step. When I work with students, it's very common to see those two things not happening at the same time in the beginning, right? So sometimes they look like this, sometimes they go here, like that. That's okay. If it starts like that in the beginning, you'll learn to get them both happening. Sometimes they go like this, they step and then they turn. That's fine, it's gonna happen to a lot of you. Keep going, they will click at the same time, but monitor yourself either via a mirror, a camera, some way so that you can connect what is happening here. I am looking at the mirror, what is happening? Okay, yes, I'm doing it, right? And this shoulder turn, by the way, just a small note, is what turns the head back. So even if you're looking forward, that right shoulder pulls the head back, but you can still kind of peek the mirror over here. Now, I understand that this leaves you kind of stranded in the middle of the ocean, okay? You're kind of like, but how do I get there and how do I get out of there, right? I'm not gonna give you that answer. It's okay for you to be lost in the sauce regarding what happens from there, but be satisfied in just nailing this part down. We're gonna talk about walk up, and the momentum bringing you into that is going to be very helpful later, but I beg of you, just be satisfied and this one piece looking okay and everything else crashing and burning all around. It's only going to take you 2 weeks. Or for some of you, it's going to be helpful right away. I hope that helps. If you're interested in one-on-one lessons, we have our Patreon link in the description below. You can find me there. So, see ya.